Before the corpse, before the demons, Memling gives you something worse. A calm woman who looks like your life could be fine. But what if the most dangerous lie you tell yourself isn't spoken out loud, but quietly rehearsed every time you look in a mirror and decide that time won't really catch you? In the central earthly panel, a nude woman stands in a shallow landscape, not in the dramatic wilderness of myth, but in a world that feels almost ordinary. And that is the first seduction. Because it says, this isn't a fantasy, this could be life. Look at how composed she is. Even the details conspire to make her seem curated. She isn't naked because she's been stripped. She's naked because she's chosen to be looked at, including by herself. And right away, Memling slips in the first of many traps, the mirror. In medieval art, a mirror can mean wisdom. But here, the mirror doesn't open outward, it closes inward. It reflects only her, and her gaze loops back into itself. This does not look like self-examination, it's self-absorption, a closed circuit where nothing higher gets in. Memling paints that loop so calmly that you almost don't notice you're watching a spiritual dead end. But then your eyes slide from the woman to the adjacent panel of death. He gives you a transi, a corpse in the process of becoming matter again. Yellowed skin clings to bone, the abdomen gapes. Decomposition is rendered with the meticulous care. Memling's argument is structural. The nude claims the body deserves worship. The corpse counters that flesh is merely clay with a deadline. Not because he hates the body, but because he refuses to let the body be a god. Some art historians point to a disturbing little detail in the death panel, a small, toad-like creature placed at the corpse's groin, turning the body's sexuality into a site of corruption rather than desire. In the central panel, the woman's sexuality is the site of confidence and display. Here, the same region becomes the site of corruption and torment. Memling is insisting that the place we locate pleasure, power, and continuation itself can also become the place where decay feels most personal, most humiliating. Above the corpse, it says this: not remember death in a vague way, but remember what you are made of. Remember where you go when you stop pretending. If the corpse is the fact, the next panel is the consequence. Hell is not shown as an abstract darkness. Here, a demon dominates the scene with a second face on its belly, an image that feels bizarre until you realize what it's saying. If the higher human faculties are traditionally imagined in the head, then this demon has inverted the hierarchy. It thinks with the gut. Its intellect replaced by appetite, spirit replaced by craving. In other words, hell isn't just punishment, it's what it looks like when desire becomes the ruling principle of a being. Below, a hellmouth gapes an enormous, devouring form, swallowing human figures into fire. And there's another inscription, even colder than the first. In hell, there is no redemption. Memling is saying, if vanity is the lie, death is the deadline, then hell is what happens when the lie is clung to all the way through the deadline. At this point, the triptych has done something psychologically brutal. It has made you feel the arc from temptation to nausea to fear. And now, you turn it to the divine side. And when the divine side appears, the tone changes immediately, not by becoming soft, but by becoming ordered. At the center sits Christ as Salvator Mundi, the savior of the world, frontal and calm. In one hand, the crystal orb, the world made transparent, held steady. With the other, a gesture of blessing, not frantic, not pleading, but sovereign. If on the other side, the mirror was self-reflection turned into a prison, here the orb is reflection turned outward. Clarity, dominion. This is where the triptych's logic clicks into place. Vanity is a gaze that never leaves the self. Salvation is a gaze redirected, outward, upward, toward a reality you don't control, but can finally tell the truth about. Memling isn't just changing the subject from body to God, he's changing the direction of attention itself. Around Christ are angels with instruments. Where the hell panel implies noise, chaos, and screaming bodies, heaven arrives as harmony. But Memling doesn't let the divine side become a comforting escape from mortality. He places death here too. On one wing, you find a skull set into a niche, and it's nothing like the rotting corpse. This bone is clean, quiet, almost architectural. The transi was process. The skull is the fact after the process, the durable remainder. It invites contemplation rather than nausea. And beneath it, Memling anchors the entire triptych with the words from Job. This is where the painting's philosophy becomes unmistakable. It's not saying the body is meaningless. It's saying the body is so real that its decay must be faced without euphemism, and that the promise of resurrection is therefore not metaphor, not mood, but miracle. Memling refuses to soften death, because softening death would also soften redemption. If rot is merely symbolic, then salvation is merely symbolic too. But if rot is real, then the claim that the Redeemer lives becomes an earthquake in the logic of reality. And then, on the remaining panel, you encounter the patron's coat of arms and a motto, "No good without pain." It's easy to read that as a generic proverb, but in this object it becomes a personal confession. This isn't an anonymous sermon aimed at people out there. It's someone admitting that the sweetness of vanity has a cost, and that the path toward salvation isn't painless. The pain here isn't self-hatred. It's the disciplined willingness to look at what you'd rather avoid. The corpse, the hellmouth, the finality. The good is what waits on the other side of that honesty. So return to the question we started with. What is the most dangerous lie we tell ourselves in the mirror? Memling's answer is that it's the lie of permanence, the belief that we can build a whole identity on the surface of things. This triptych is designed to interrupt that illusion with a kind of merciless love. It doesn't flatter you into virtue. It shocks you into clarity, then offers a hand. And maybe the most unsettling part is this. Memling doesn't ask you to stop looking. He asks you to look better. Look at the body and don't pretend it's immortal. Look at death and don't pretend it's poetic. Look at consequence and don't pretend you'll negotiate your way out. Look at it once more. Then tell me in the comments which detail flips the whole argument for you.